Hi everyone, it is just after 11 o'clock here on your Thursday. It's February 19th,
And
2026.
we're talking about storms in the
I
forecast?
know.
What?
I know. It's been kind of a wild week of weather. We've had those temperatures in the 60s and 70s here over the last several days. Today we kind of have a wide variety of temperatures. Don't quite think we'll see widespread 60s, but yeah, we're going to be tracking the potential for maybe a couple stronger storms later
Yeah,
today.
and even some snow. I mean, it's February, and well, with the great weather we had earlier this week, I mean, those great
Yeah.
temperatures, we had record highs and just a little bit about everything. Today, some of us might be a little bit on the mild side, but of course, those windy conditions. Now, all that great weather now
Yeah.
kind of be coming to an end.
Coming to an end, and we're kind of back to reality heading into the
Yes.
weekend. So I'm meteorologist Kyle Keel, along with meteorologist Deanna Rodriguez. We're here in the KWQC newsroom on KWQC Plus, giving you this first alert day update. And this first alert day is kind of one of those lower impact first alerts
Yeah.
because we're not looking at widespread storms. I mean, we got to think temperatures only going to be in the 50s. We've got
50s.
low dew points as well. But the one thing that we have, the shear.
Oh yeah, it's been very windy. I mean, it kind of explains with that red flag warning that we had yesterday, all those
Yeah.
gusty winds since the beginning of the week. So
Exactly.
we don't have a lot of ingredients, but of course, if we have something, there's always that chance where we could be seeing something.
Exactly, and in February, you don't necessarily have to have shear, lift, moisture, and instability. The one thing that, the couple things we're going to be lacking today, the moisture, which obviously we know that because it's been so dry out lately, and the instability. So a lot of times to get that instability, you have to have the heat and the moisture, and we don't quite have that today. But we're going to break down all of those details. But first, right now, Deanna, all in all, it's not too bad
Yeah,
out, right?
I mean, it's gorgeous. It's a first alert day, but it's that calm before the storm.
Yeah.
I mean, that sun is still shining. Unfortunately, we're not going to be holding on to a lot of that sunshine here throughout our day today. In Dubuque, we are seeing a little bit more of those blue skies with a lot of cloud cover that's already starting to roll here into the Quad Cities. And Burlington and Washington looks very, very cloudy here. So it's definitely noticeable that, well, we're not really going to have much of that instability that we were mentioning here, as well, those clouds are still going to continue to roll in here throughout the afternoon and even into the evening hours. But it is windy out there, and we can definitely see that through our cam here in Bettendorf with that flag
Yeah.
swing back and forth, Keel.
Yes, exactly. So we're going to continue to watch those clouds increase here as we head throughout the afternoon hours. But, temperatures, as we mentioned,
Yeah.
kind of a widespread range here.
Yeah, we have quite the range. I mean, here in the Metro Quad Cities and areas just a little bit north and just towards south over in Muscatine, we're in those mid to upper 40s. But then up to the north in Dubuque and Galena, we're in those upper 30s. But then where we do have that marginal risk, which we're going to be talking about here in just a little bit, we're in the 50s. So definitely quite the temperature gradient. And while it's only just a few minutes after 11, I wouldn't be surprised if we do warm up just a little bit, but not too significant like we were earlier this week.
Yeah, and the storm system that we're tracking is a pretty potent one. So it's going to have that warm side to our southeast, that cold side to our northwest. So we're talking not only the threat of severe weather, mainly southeast of the Quad Cities, but also the accumulating snow in parts of our viewing area as well. So we're going to break down those details here in just a few minutes. But here's a look at the next 24 hours. As Deanna mentioned, we're going to continue to see those clouds increase this afternoon. Temperatures here in the metro get into at least the mid-50s, could get close to 60 a little farther east toward maybe Galva, Kewanee, Princeton, Walnut area. Those are going to be the areas that we watch for maybe a couple of those stronger thunderstorms. But after 4 or 5 o'clock, we'll start to see those showers come in. Maybe a few rumbles of thunder as well. And then after 10, 11 o'clock, we'll start to see that rain transition over and eventually transition
Into
to snow. So mix
yeah.
with and then transition to, I guess that's what I was trying to say. We'll see that snow, and then that wind will pick up tomorrow, but it'll be a cooler wind. So again, back to
Yeah.
reality heading into
So-
Friday, right? Tomorrow's
Yeah.
Friday? Yeah, tomorrow's Friday. There we go.
So see, it's been a long week.
It
I mean,
has.
I understand. So on Monday, we had highs in the 70s for some of
Yeah.
us, and tomorrow highs are barely going to be even half of that. I mean, I
Yeah.
think highs are tomorrow in the mid-30s.
But
so
all in all, not bad for February standards.
Yeah,
It's
you're
just
right,
a
you're
shock
right,
to the
you're right.
system, right?
You're right.
All right, so let's go ahead and break down this
Yeah.
first alert day.
So we do have that first alert day that's going to be in effect from 4 until 10 p.m. tonight. So a few stronger storms are possible, especially areas east of the Mississippi River. Right now, we are kind of keeping a very close eye on Bureau County, which is where, we're anticipating for it to be maybe a little bit on the stronger end. Of course, we don't want to rule out the possibility elsewhere, but that's kind of where we'll have that, marginal risk. We'll show you here in just a little bit. But as of now, the main threats do seem to be those gusty winds, the hail, and then we never want to neglect that possibility for a tornado.
Yeah.
Now, as far right now, I know tornado can be a very intimidating word, but that does seem to be on the lower part of the spectrum. But of course, we don't want to rule it out, as there's that chance. We don't need a lot of ingredients, but well, given what we have right now, it does seem to be more of a hail and gusty kind of scenario for us.
Yeah, most definitely. And you know, we were talking about the higher threat of severe weather being off to our
Yes.
south and east. That's where we've got that level 2 to level 3 risk. So that level 2 risk is just to the east of Peoria, Champaign-Urbana, down into southern Illinois, and we've also got that level 3 moderate risk, and that's where we actually have an area of some tornadic activity we could see today.
So I will say, I was telling the meteorologist earlier when we were talking with everyone, and it looks like an avocado.
It does, yeah.
Usually when you see that, that's when we're a little bit more concerned. Of course, that's not necessarily over our viewing area, but if you do want to see tornadoes, if you love those tornadoes, you want to be down to the south where that likeliness is pretty high for sure.
Yeah, exactly. That's where we're going to have higher dew points, which is
Yes.
one of those ingredients that we are lacking today.
And instability,
yeah, exactly. And for us here locally, the concern is not so much a tornado, but you know, it's February. Those freezing levels inside the clouds, they're very, very low. So it's not going to take much of an updraft to get any of those storms to produce hail. Again, we're not expecting widespread storms or widespread strong storms or severe weather. But nonetheless, that possibility is there. But you can see that threat is farther off to our south and east. So again, it's basically areas east of the Mississippi River that will have that threat for severe weather today.
Yeah, and like we were mentioning, I mean, the threats as of now, tornadoes not necessarily going to be a major impact for us, but of course, we never want to rule that out. Those winds, they could be pretty gusty. I mean, up to 60 miles per hour, which is why we do have that marginal risk here for those southern and eastern counties, and then the possibility for some hail. So definitely going to keep a very close eye on that radar. As of now, I mean, we're seeing pretty quiet conditions. A lot of those clouds start to build up, so we'll definitely be lacking that moisture and that instability. But those winds, that's one thing, or excuse me, not the winds. Oh man, I lost my train of thought. What were
That's
we
okay.
missing? The instability. There's so many words that we're
Yes,
trying
yes,
to.
we're missing the instability and the moisture today.
That's what it
yes.
is. Oh, no,
Slim.
no, no.
Slim is what we
Slim.
look for. Yes, exactly.
What?
Sheer lift, instability, and moisture for severe weather. So
Yes.
what we're looking at here, we don't necessarily show this on TV, but you know, Facebook Live, our live stream, we can go a little more in depth because we have a little more time with you. So basically what you're looking at is wind shear and the storm energy. Again, the energy is the instability that we're talking about. So a lot of times to get increased instability, you got to have the heat, you got to have the moisture, both of which, as we've mentioned a couple times, we're lacking that today. So you can see that we do have a little bit of that energy that is getting into portions of Knox, Stark, and Bureau County there. What we're looking at is the wind shear here. So the red arrows that you see, that's the wind at the surface rather, and then the blue arrows are the winds that are at an upper level height. So we're talking the mid to upper levels. So yes, we have a little bit of directional shear, but the main thing that we have is speed shear, which means a difference in the speed of winds with height. And if you noticed that animation earlier, those upper level winds were a little bit lower, but as we go into the afternoon, they're going to be speeding up as that area of low pressure gets a little bit closer. So we'll definitely have that speed shear to allow those storms to grow a little bit. Again, not necessarily looking at the potential for rotating storms as far as a tornado threat, but it's something that we have to watch very closely here, probably after 4 or 5 o'clock, and then after sunset, that kind of moves off into the east and out of our viewing area. So the current setup right now has that low pressure into Missouri. Right now, the St. Louis Metro getting hit with one round of thunderstorms. That's going to be something that we watch for that area and points off to the east where they have that highest risk of severe weather. But we can also see that snow developing on the backside, Deanna.
Yeah, that snow developing on the backside, which is going to actually come into the area, but that's going to be after we get, well, our system comes through here during the evening hours. So as of now, like you just mentioned, yes, in St. Louis, they're already starting to get some of that activity. So it's just the beginning of what we're expecting to get here in the next couple of hours. So.
Exactly. So yeah, all is quiet right now. As we mentioned, the air is very, very dry. So a lot of these returns you see on radar,
Not necessarily making it down to the
exactly,
ground, so.
exactly. So we have to saturate the atmosphere, which we will do here over time, and eventually we will get some showers into the area. So we'll start Exact Track here as our first alert day gets going at 5 o'clock.
Yeah, so you see here on 5 o'clock, we'll already start to see some activity come into the area, not necessarily on the stronger end, but then as we get into around 6 and 7 p.m., you could kind of start to see those yellowish colors and even the orange, and that's when we start to see a little bit more of those scattered thunderstorms, a little heavier rain. But it does seem that around 8 p.m., that is when we kind of start to see a little bit more of that activity and like even some reds, especially around this southern Sterling and into Bureau County. So that's what we keep mentioning. That's kind of where we're going to be keeping an even closer eye on. I wouldn't really neglect the possibility if we'll probably be hearing that thunder, some lightning, and of course, those storms will start to strengthen here during the evening hours.
Yes, so we got a couple of questions coming in. Natalie's asking, will the severe storms hit the metro? Natalie, it looks like this is mainly going to be primarily east of the Quad Cities. If the storm were to shift maybe a little farther north or west, we could be talking about a threat here, but really we're kind of looking at, I would say, a rough line from Monmouth to Knoxville, Galesburg to Kewaunee to Princeton, and points off to the east.
Yeah, so I guess this system will change. A lot of it just depends on the track of it. I mean, we were talking about earlier, if it shifts 5 miles north, it could definitely make an impact, and even down to the south. So it's going to be one of those where, unfortunately, we're still going to continue to monitor here in the next couple of hours when we get our latest runs, because a lot is still continuing to change.
Yeah.
So.
Karen is asking, will it delay flights? You'll just have to check in with the airport to see that, because other parts of the country will be getting hit with this same storm, so that could impact flights in general. So you'll have to just check with the airport. And Donna,
we need the rain. Oh, we absolutely need the rain.
We're going to talk
right
about
there,
that here in just a moment. But yeah, this is definitely much needed, especially with all those brush fires that we had over really the last few days.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of it really does have to do with that lower humidity and those warm temperatures that we've had around this time of year.
Definitely.
And then with the rainfall, we've been, way below average.
Exactly,
which we're going to be talking about here pretty soon. But back to the system, I mean, here on Exact Track, around 8 p.m., this does seem to be when we're expecting to have kind of like the major part of the system. But then around 10 and then closer to midnight, it starts to transition from rain to then some wet snow.
Yeah.
So as of now, it seems like it's going to be like around midnight when we start to kind of see that snow start to move through, specifically north of the Quad Cities, where we're anticipating maybe get a little bit more of that heavier snow. Now, I don't want people to freak out and think, oh my goodness, we're getting like 5 inches worth of snow, because I mean, we've been pretty above average for quite a while now. So any snow that we do get will melt as soon. I mean, we'll still see some light dusting in some surfaces, but as far as it being like maybe a major impact here as we get into tomorrow, definitely want to take it slow if you're going to be heading out here tomorrow morning, but it shouldn't be anything too impactful.
No. And I want to take note here at 10 o'clock. You can see that the low pressure center is pretty much right over Kewaunee and Princeton. That's that swirling, that counterclockwise swirl that you see there. So that's the center of low pressure. So if that were to move a little farther off to the north and west, that would put the area more at a risk for maybe a couple more stronger storms and take that heaviest snow off to the north and west. But right now, I think this is a pretty good track with that low going just to the east of the Quad Cities. So let's talk about that beneficial rainfall. Now, I think that the inch amounts may be a little bit overdone, but we could see a 1/4 to 1/2 inch of rain in some locations.
Yeah, I mean, we've been in a drought, and it's only going to be getting a little bit more worse as we get into the next couple of weeks if we don't get some of this rain, but we do need that beneficial rain, and we do seem to be getting a little bit of a good amount here as we get into tomorrow.
Yeah, this certainly is not going to be a drought buster, but I think it'll help saturate those grounds at least a little bit. Maybe kind of take down those fire risks here over the next couple of days.
Yeah, and well, unfortunately, at least in the radar, I haven't really seen any more rain in the near future after today. So I mean, we'll take anything we can get.
Exactly. All right. Well, looks like we got an update there. Winter storm warning in effect up toward the Waterloo area. So that's where they could see greater than 6 inches of snow in some locations, but I will tell you, Dubuque is under that winter weather advisory, which is what I thought we were going to show here, but we'll have to get an update on that. But as Deanna mentioned, we're going to start to see that transition over to snow.
Yeah, so again, it's not expected to be anything major. I will say the models have been a little bit consistent as far as here in the here in the TV6 viewing area. We are not really expecting for us to be getting like 5-10 inches worth of snow like they are expecting up to the north and west outside of the TV6 viewing area. But of course, in Dubuque and maybe in Galena, you guys could start to see a little bit more of that. A little bit of some light accumulations, but nothing too major. So on Exact Track, you can see we kind of transition around midnight, and then that's going to slowly move out of the viewing area as we get into the overnight hours. So I wouldn't be surprised if we do wake up to some flurries here tomorrow morning as we're headed to work. Shouldn't be too much of a concern, but of course we want everybody to be weather aware. Give yourself some extra time and take it slow. It doesn't matter. We don't need 5 inches of snow on the ground or even 2 for it to be too impactful. We could still, the roads will still be a little bit slick, and we do want everybody
Right.
to be safe.
And the thing that we need to keep in mind is, okay, we just had a record high of 70 the other day. We
Yeah.
had 65 yesterday, you know, stretch of above freezing temperatures. So a lot of this is going to melt initially, but
yeah.
the problem is that this is going to be the part of the storm that this is falling in, you get really heavy precipitation.
Oh, yeah.
So that's going to be able to overcome the warm ground. So areas, I would say Jackson County, Dubuque County, maybe even Joe Davies County, Jones County, and points off to the northwest. That's where we could get that quick accumulation,
Yeah.
especially on the grassy and elevated areas. So that's something that we're going to continue to watch. Those winds are really going to start to pick up here as we head into tomorrow morning. So tomorrow during the day is going to be dry, just remarkably cooler.
Yeah, and those winds definitely shifting now coming from the north, and well, it's definitely going to be noticeably cooler as we get into tomorrow. So quite the change from the
Yeah.
beginning of the week to now the end of the week, and even into the weekend.
Yeah, definitely a potent system. So here's a look at the snowfall forecast here. So basically northwest of the Quad Cities, we really need to keep a close eye on Jackson and Joe Davies County. We saw that update to a winter storm warning. There are some signs. You see that yellow shading right there? That's where we could see localized areas of greater than 6 inches of snow. So that's going to be a possibility here off to our north and west. So we're going to have to analyze a little bit more data here this
Yeah.
afternoon to see where that heavier band of snow is going to set up. But it does look like areas like maybe Clinton and Savannah could get a good inch of snow.
Yeah, and again, like you just mentioned, like I mentioned earlier, it just depends on the system and how it trails into the area.
Yeah.
I mean, if it moves up to the north a little bit, that can make or break how much snow you get. So we're going to continue to pretty much keep a close eye on these models that will come in here this afternoon, and well, really kind of monitor closely the forecast, not only up there, but even off to the south and east, as we're going to expect maybe some stronger storms, but then of course that snow and that activity up to the north. So
Yeah, so here in the Quad Cities metro, probably less than an inch, maybe a dusting a little farther to the south on those grassy areas, but you get up toward Maquoketa, Bellevue, Galena, Stockton, you could get a few inches of snow. The Galena, the 4 to 5, that's what our model's putting down. I think that might be overdone just a bit, maybe in the 1 to 3 inch range.
Yeah.
But again, if this thing shifts farther northwest, that's gonna cause maybe some concern of maybe a little less snow, or if it shifts a little farther to the south and east, could be a little more snow. So something that we're going to continue to watch here as we
yeah, just like that alert. I mean, everything changed in just 30 minutes. So
Yeah.
But we definitely need the rain. I mean, so far this, not necessarily month, but this year, I mean, we have been below average. So any rain will be beneficial rain.
Most definitely, about a ½ inch below average, and I think 2 1/4 below average, just for the year, through today.
Yeah.
So, it was kind of a quick start to the winter season.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
everyone was thinking, "Oh my gosh, it's going to be a huge winter with all this
Back on-
snow," but it's
yeah.
been very dry since then. So, the 8 to 14-day outlook does show a probability of maybe a little bit more active weather, probably more toward the first
end,
week of
yeah,
March. Like you said, Deanna, the short term doesn't look too wet.
No, it doesn't. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people probably want to get through today and then concerned about the weekend.
Yeah.
But in the week, we're seeing quiet conditions and cooler, but we're not really going to be staying cooler a whole, for quite the stretch. It does seem like when we get into next week and even the end of next week, we'll be trending just slightly above average. And well, I wouldn't be surprised if we're back into those 40s and 50s here in no time. Matter of fact, I was looking a little bit on the longer range with the models, and we could maybe start to see the 60s again, but I don't want to get everybody's hopes up because, I am so sad that the 60s are coming to an end, but that 7-day forecast doesn't look too bad for this
No.
time. I mean, we can't hold on to the 60s for such a long time, but yes, we'll have that first alert day in effect here this evening from 3 to 9 p.m. Of course, a lot can and will change, and we'll continue to update here with the latest. But today, temperatures will be climbing into the mid-50s, so after having some sunshine here to kick off our day, well, as we get into this evening, we will be followed by, well, a lot of cloud cover and then some storms and, well, then some snow. As we get into tomorrow, could be seeing a little bit of some snow to kick off our morning, followed by some strong gusty winds with the high barely making it into the 40s, and even those overnight lows dropping back into those 20s, and as we get into this weekend, 30s and some teens. So definitely going to be cooler. Want to take out those winter coats again. I know I will. And, well, that sunshine, quiet weather does seem to continue even as we get into next week. So we're going to be pretty much near average this weekend and even to kick off next week. But then as we get into the middle of next week, we do start to trend a little bit more on the warmer side.
Yes, exactly. So we could be talking about maybe the return of 50s here as we head into next week. But obviously, today's concern, we need to get through the possibility for maybe a couple of storms storms, again, not widespread severe weather, but we'll talk rain, a little storm activity, and then a little bit of snow as well. Avari is asking, how will the Bettendorf area be? Mainly rain, and
Yeah.
Bettendorf could be a couple rumbles of thunder. We'll see that transition to snow after midnight, maybe a little dusting to less than an inch. And then Kathy's asking exactly what about the winds and storms later for just Quad Cities. So again, yeah, that storm threat is mainly going to be east of the Quad Cities.
Yeah, so again, a lot will change with that, and it just depends on the track of the system. As of now, it does seem to stay more to the south and to the east of the Quad Cities, and well, those winds, it's going to be gusty all around. So it's not necessarily just the threat. It's not just going to be for south and the east. Those winds are going to be just as strong all around. So I guess it just depends. But as of now, yes, that marginal threat is just for those areas, but I wouldn't be surprised if that does change here as we get into this evening.
Yes, exactly. And sorry I made that. I forgot that we were on camera. I was looking at a graphic and it went a little haywire, so that's why I made a weird face while you were talking. I didn't mean to, but yeah, I wanted to pull up the graphics once again to show that severe weather outlook. And again, most of that's going to be off to the south and east of the Quad Cities. So that's something that we're going to continue to monitor here for our eastern hometowns. You're going to hear a lot in the headlines of the severe weather in southern Illinois into Indiana, because that's where the highest tornado risk is today.
Yeah, so that's if you want to see tornadoes, maybe down to the south, but of course you want to make sure you know how to read that radar and maybe have some backup plans, because it does seem like things are going to be a little bit on the stronger, more severe side, excuse me, down to the south. But of course we do want everybody to be weather aware.
Yeah.
Know your safe spot. I think it's important. I think that the month of February and even the beginning of March, you kind of want to be able to now start preparing, excuse me, as we start to get into severe weather mode. Like, okay, where's my safe home just in case there's a tornado warning? Where am I going to receive alerts? I know a lot of us do depend on our phone, but it's also important to have those notifications on.
Exactly.
I feel like that's one thing, especially at night, because I mean, we do have a lot of activity, especially with this, transitioning from rain, some potential storms, and then into snow over the late night hours. So, I mean, we do have our first alert, or KWQC First Alert weather app that we keep up to date every hour. So that's
which we're probably about ready to go do, right?
Yeah, right now.
Yeah, it's about that time, right? Time to update the app. So yeah, this is just kind of the start of severe weather season. Hopefully, kind of a quiet start to the severe weather season. Again, it's downstate Illinois. I know, knock on wood. Downstate Illinois that has the highest risk today, and again, we're tracking the snow as well. So multiple hazards that we are tracking. We're going to continue to update the forecast. Chief Meteorologist Eric Maitland, as well as Meteorologist Kyle Dickens, will be back on KWQC Plus about 2 o'clock this afternoon with another update as we kind of get a fresh round of data in, kind of look at the observations on what's going on. Again, just first alert day out for maybe a couple of stronger storms, maybe isolated severe storms. Just something that we're going to monitor here as we head throughout the day. So thanks so much for watching, and stay safe and have a great day.